Edward Shule. I was 3 years in service. I spent 2 years up in Greenland. We used to send the bombers over. Sometimes we used to have 50 to 100 bombers a day come through to bomb Europe. And that was my length of service. And I was supposed to be on the USAT Dorchester, but we didn't have enough training, and so they canceled it and made us on a later date, and too bad it's all the survivors of the Dorchester. And I feel sorry for everybody who was there. I've had about 3 fellows that off the Dorchester, and they said it was hell.
My name is Roger Therault. I was enlisted in 1948. I served over in Japan after the war was over, and I was in the 1st Cavalry Division. We went to Korea, and I spent 3 years in Korea. Didn't see too much action, but I saw a little. Saw a few of my friends get killed, and that's about not very much to say, but I know it's something anyway. You people, I hope you'll all appreciate everything that these veterans have done for you, and we all appreciate all of you people.
My name is Herb Mazzetlo. Well, I was overseas in the Pacific, and after we cleared them out, we came back to the States. I became an instructor in the infantry training camp for 2 years. Thank you. And that's about it. I knew the importance of training young men to become soldiers, and that was my main goal.
Jerome St. Martin. Well, my service in World War II came to a quick end. Got out of boot camp, did my training at Parris Island, boot camp at Parris Island. Then I went on to Camp Pendleton, California. Did our training there again for combat training. And then we left there, and I left for the South Pacific, and we got orders. After we got aboard ship, we got orders that we're going to Guam. And on the way, the war ended. So I spent my time on Guam, 2 years on Guam, and came back to the United States. By that time, I made sergeant, and then from there, they sent me down to Parris Island, South Carolina, to go to drill instructor school. Got down there, and Sergeant Major got a hold of me and called out my name. He says, "Sergeant St. Martin." I said, "Yes, sir, here." And he says, "We got your men for you. Your platoon is here. You're picking up your men, and you're going to start learning them." I says, "What?" I said, "I'm supposed to go to school." He says, "Well, you got 3 stripes on your arm." He says, "You're going to be training these guys for combat." So we took them through boot camp, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, clean our barracks, go to chow, come back, and go to school. Start reading the books, and then we get through reading the books. We went out for training. We did combat training, They issued each man a rifle. Finished that the first week. Then the second week, we did all the other training over again. Finished out our training, and then the men graduated, and they went home and got their orders where they were going. There was 75 men to a platoon. And then from there, I was involved into another platoon, trained those men through boot camp, and they got orders after boot camp to go to California for more infantry training and combat training. And I got orders that I could get out of the Marine Corps. I got discharged from the Marine Corps then. It was beautiful to get back to civilian life, I'll guarantee you. No more orders to do and do this and do that. And then I went out and looked for a job and got hired in the West Allis schools.
My name is Jack Peter Hansen. I served from 1942 to 1945, and I was 2 years in the European theater. I was in the 391st Anti-Aircraft AA Automatic Weapons Battalion. Yeah. Well, we were in the anti-aircraft, and we set up in England, and we would fly up at the bombers at night, and then when D-Day come in, I'm on D+6. And our job was to set up on there and protect all the cargo ships and ducks that brought freights in, or any strafing planes, which we never had any problem with. The plane never got any into our cargo ships. And I'm just proud that I was able to serve for my country, and it's the greatest country in the world. I'm not much for talking about it, but yeah.
My name is Ken Stalick. I was with the 11th Airborne. I was a paratrooper with the 11th Airborne in Leyte, Cebu, and then I moved up to Japan in September for VJ Day, and I was in Japan for almost 2 years. January 45, went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then shipped overseas to the Philippines, Mercal Division, and then the war ended, and then I volunteered for the 11th Airborne. I was a paratrooper for 2 years over there. Paid 6 jumps. First time I rode an airplane, I had to jump out. 19 years old, ain't got no feelings. And today I'm wearing my brother Russell's jacket. It's from the 1st Army, and he was at the Battle of the Bulge. So I'm wearing this jacket in his honor.
George. Last name is Walter. Well, I joined the Army and went in the regular Army in January of '46, just after World War II. And our outfit that left Luzon was transferred to both Japan and Korea, and learned that Korea was much like Wisconsin. The day we landed was 19 below zero, and we were not prepared for that. But so happy to have been able to serve. I was attached to the 6th Division, to the 6th Signal Company, and I'm proud to have done that.
My name is Ed Mickish. I was drafted in March of '43. I graduated in February of '43. I was taking the Air Corps exam. I had returned from Truex Field in Madison, and I received in the mail my draft papers. I had a choice of Army, Navy, or Marines as I went to the induction center. I took the Navy to stay out of the Army, let's put it that way. At the time, the Air Corps was a part of the Army. It was not a separate organization. And Major Cunningham down at the induction center told me I could take the Army, do the basics, apply for a transfer, and I asked the question, what are the probabilities? He said, well, then that all depended on enlistments, other draftees, or transfers from the Army into the Air Corps, so I took the Navy. I went to radio school in Farragut Naval Station in Idaho. I had 6 months of training for International Morse Code. After the 6 months, we shipped out to California. We took some anti-aircraft training. We stayed at San Fran Racetrack in San Bruno, California, in some barracks that were previously held or used by Japanese Americans when they were interned on the West Coast. They were moved out, we went there, we took some more training in anti-aircraft. I left San Francisco. I have no idea what day it was. I was not, time at that time was immaterial. Took us 3 weeks, approximately, on a Dutch motor ship, taking the southern route to get to Noumea, New Caledonia, for a staging area. Crowded. It was a small boat, a small ship. It was not one of those passenger liners, and it just converted into a troop transport. Spent most of the time on top deck because we did not run into any foul weather. Very boring. This book here seems to show commanders, officers, equipment that they were using, promoting the occupation of the Japanese in that area, which seems to show American soldiers being taken prisoner, and various activities or actions in the Philippines itself. These were propaganda, and they might have been in the building where we were situated, at one time a private home. We ended up in Noumea, New Caledonia, and I always wanted to say this. A funny thing happened on my way to the war. We landed, we went ashore in New Caledonia. That evening, I became very ill. I ended up with an emergency appendix operation the following morning in an area that I didn't know where it was. We found a sentry in the middle of the night, and he told us where the medics were. I went in, spent maybe 4 days in the hospital, Mob 5, which is a naval hospital, and my unit moved out. They were assigned to Naval Mobile Communication Unit 40-A. It took me about 3 weeks on different transports to get to Milne Bay, New Caledonia, Dutch New Guinea. Caught up with my unit there. Stayed there for approximately 3 weeks. Told to move out. We moved out. We went up to Helena, New Guinea, and set up the communications. We had a transmitter van, a receiver van, 2 jeeps. We had 40 enlisted men and 12 officers. Then we moved up. We were attached to the Army, by the way. We were well protected because of communication. We moved up to Finchhaven, Dutch New Guinea, and there set up another receiving station. We did the same routine
sending and receiving only coded messages using International Morse code. A is da, B is da, C is da, D da, and then that's a long So if you listen to it for 6 months, you're bound to learn it. Very little, in fact, none that I know of regular communication. Because everything that was said, that we received and said, was in code of some type. The ECM machine that they used was the shape of a typewriter, but where the carriage would have been was the rolls, and in those rolls they had wheels. And during the day, in the hour, from Washington, they would get a message to change X number of rolls or wheels, and then that, if you type the coded message, it would come out like a ticker tape in English. We were told we had armament with 3 Thompson machine guns, gasoline. We were told that in case we were going to be overridden, we should destroy the machine at all costs. There we stayed until they started forming the flotilla to go into Lincoln Gulf. We joined, we got on board LSC, which is the 1017. Right next to us was the 912. And we got in the convoy in 44, 45. January, about 8, I think we hit Lincoln Gulf. Stayed up in the Gupen, which is right in that small town there, and then followed the army down through Tarlac, San Miguel, and into Manila. We set up a radio station, receiving station in the outskirts of Manila. Stayed there until I was discharged from Manila on rotation points. I come back to the States. Well, I know I came back to Milwaukee in 1946. It was the end of January. Discharged out of Great Lakes and came to Milwaukee. I was home. I had no fear when I was over there, and I just had to take things as they come. We were well protected. We had certain duties that we performed without too much of a problem. We were well trained, and we all came home safely.
I was in World War II. I was in 4th Armored Division, Patton's 3rd Army, Company D, Light Tank Company, Recon. And I finished up the war in Czechoslovakia. I came over as a replacement for some of the guys that were killed. We had only 11 tanks left out of 25. 14 were knocked out. So that's how we traveled across Germany with our 11 tanks. Well, I only saw him once. So they told us he was coming, so everybody had to shine their boots, and they were filthy, and they had to shine their helmet liner, but that's all he cared about. He looked like a bum otherwise. And he just drove by with his Pearl Handle revolvers and waved to us and gone. Yeah, after the war, then they put me in American Graves registration over in Europe, and then we were looking for down flyers all over Germany. I got to Berlin, Frankfurt, Bremerhaven, Bremen. I got all over the place.
My name is Louis Golombeski. I was drafted in December 11th, 1950. I wound up at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, the Artillery Center. Basic training and 2 months of school. Then I was shipped off to Camp Stone, California, boarded ship in San Francisco, a 19-day cruise, stopped off in Guam, landed in Sasebo, Japan. Sasebo, Japan, we took a train to Yokohama. We had 1 week training to test our weapons. They took all of our gear and just left it with a knapsack and a pair of shoes and extra socks and underwear. And then we boarded a Japanese transport of some sort, and I landed in Busan. From there on, I shipped up north. And we stopped off Uijeonbu, and then we debarked from a train, and we got on trucks, and we shipped north across the Han River. And where I was wound up there, I don't know. But anyway, my first day on the job, I had to drive Captain Owens to an observation post. And I saw these infantry guys broad daylight taking this hill. And there was a machine gunner on the flank waving his arms. I think he was out of ammunition, and hopefully he wasn't going to be attacked. I don't know what happened there, you know. And I watched these Corsairs dive bombing straight down. You know, I don't know how they did and how they got out of it. But anyway, that was my first day on the job. And from there on in, I mean, I was just at the West Central Front. You know, and attached to the 1st Field Artillery Observation Battalion. We surveyed in observation posts for the artillery. And I have pictures here of a certain sector I had been in. This is all in North Korea. This is the national headquarters of the Communist Party in North Korea. And I'm sitting up on the parapet up here. At this time, this is a open site which was closed for 50 years. Now it's been opened to the public. You can tour this site. Well, anyway, I was there 60-some years ago. And here I'm entering it. These are the stairways right here. It's unbelievable, you know what I mean? I was there, I took the picture, and I was on this building, and it's a historical site at this time. And this is the South Korean infantry moving up from that building there. That building is I told you was the headquarters, and next to it was an ice house. And they were moving up front, which was right behind me. Okay, this infantry here is marching up to this sector up here past this artillery unit, which is the South Koreans, over the hill into their front lines. This is also an historical site. This is a bombed out train on the way to this building here in Charwan. This, I was going on R&R, and I helped assist carry wounded onto the airplane. They were being evacuated to a hospital in Japan or wherever. I just helped them carry them on, you know. And I had returned to Japan and Korea in 2008 with my 2 daughters, and I had a reunion there, and they treated me like a king. We went to the DMZ, we went to toured Busan and Incheon. And I had dinner with the president of South Korea, who had given me a friendship medal of some. It was very gratifying, you know what I mean? I've never been treated like this, you know what I mean? I mean, I wish I could. I can't say much more. 11 months. I was in 11 months. I was in the combat zone And we had a point system, so you gained so many points, you got home, you know, and that was it. You know, I was saddened the way I just, there was no reception of any whatsoever. And I think I was treated like we didn't win that one. Well, my answer was, you didn't keep me there long enough to finish the job. That's all I could say, and I just walked away. Kept my mouth shut, and I don't talk about it too much. You're the first guy that really, I go to Camp American Legion, my buddies there, you know, Richard Shields, he was from the 7th Division, he was west of me, West Central Front, and we can express ourselves. I did my best, I did my job, and I had a job to do. It's all I could do, and I tried.
Claire Ann Goodfellow. I went into the United States Army in 1971 to 74. I took my basic training at Fort McClellan, Alabama. I took my AIT in Fort Gordon, Georgia. I was one of the first female MPs with the 515th MP Division. I was stationed over in Korea during Vietnam.
So your knee's good now?
I stood duty on the DMZ. I had the dubious duty of checking body bags as they were brought in for contraband for drugs and so on and so forth. Was not a happy time. And then I came home on November 5th, 1974. This is from the National Commander. This is from our department commander. And this is from headquarters.
I watched it.
Oh, yeah. This pin is remembrance of lung cancer. And this is remembrance of breast cancer, which I am a 20-year survivor of. Also, I'm a 4-time cancer survivor.
Walter Zem was drafted for World War II as soon as I got graduated from high school. Took my basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and completed my training there for the armored divisions. And from Fort Knox, Kentucky, I went to Camp Stoneman. And then from there we went to Camp Shanks, New York for our be sent overseas. I went overseas to Europe, Theater of Operations on George Washington troop ship. We landed in Denmark and we worked our way down towards Bamberg, Germany. And I went later on, worked our way down to Freising, Germany. And there's where we were stationed for some time. Means of transportation down through the European theater was on boxcars. We had a stove in the middle of the boxcar, and there was straw on the floor. That was our means of sleeping on. No inner string mattresses. It was just straw. And on the way down to Bamberg, Germany, I came down with double pneumonia and ended in the hospital with my commanding officer. He had pneumonia also, and so they treated us with drugs and got us back to go to ship out with our unit in 2 weeks. So we did not miss going out with our 2 units. And when I came back from the European theater, I joined the Air Guard out here. And lo and behold, I ended up being activated with them and during the Korean War, and I got sent out to Guam during the Korean War.
Joseph Eric. Well, I worked on a straight sign. I was a straight sign. I was an airplane mechanic. And I ended up as a crew chief on B-29 in Kansas. And that was most of my service. That was work. 2 years of that, I was of that. It did pretty good, yeah.
Darwin E. Bell. I was drafted December 12th, 1950, just after the North Koreans invaded the South. And I did the basic training at Fort Hood. And then I went to Fort Knox for mechanic training. And in the meantime, our division, 2nd Armored Division, was sent to Germany. So we were there to hold back the ambitious Russians, Red Army. They already had blockaded Berlin, as you might remember. And so the Cold War was started then. So I spent 14 months in Germany. But I do remember World War II quite well. I was 15, I think, just going on short of 16 years old when the war was over. I can remember driving my car up and down the streets and honking my horn on a Model A, and they don't beep, they go auga. Auga, I don't know if you've ever heard that. Huh? So people were very happy in our little hometown of Montello, Wisconsin. And so I did my 2 years, and then I got out at Fort Custer, Michigan.
My name is Harvey Savoy. I was drafted in Michigan, Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And I was drafted in 52, the Korean War. And I never was there. I was going over, all of a sudden that cancer. I was in Nevada. I set the car and bomb off of there. I was there. And closed camp wrapper down. And I was an engineer, a heavy engineer. And I came here in 59.
Vernon R. Burseth. Well, I was living in north central Iowa on a farm with my parents. My life up till when they drafted me in the service in 1942, 12th of June. I got into the medical corps. There was 2 bus loads out of my area, went to Des Moines, Iowa. And then there we took exams and everything, got ready for the service. And then I went to Fort Knox, or I went to Camp Grant, Illinois for my basic training. And I had my basic training there. Then I went to Fort Knox. Then from Fort Knox, I went to New Jersey. I got on the big ship, the Argentina. I went to Africa. Oh, there was many GIs on there. Went to Casablanca, and I spent my Christmas 42 in Casablanca. Then I went all along the border of Africa from Amsterdam to Algiers, Tunisia. Then I got up there. As the war was going on, I was at each place a short time. Then I went over to Sicily from Algiers, and then I was there a short time, and there was bombing, and Germans come in over the mountains and bombed a train that come in to Sicily with ammunition. Well, at 10 o'clock at night, they done the bombing on the train. The shells was going off on one end to the other. 4 hours straight, the bombs was going off and the shells. And I was in Sicily a short time, and then they split the troops up. Half of them went to Italy, and half went to up to England. And we waited for D-Day in England. Then I went over to Omaha Beach, and I went to Belgium, Holland, and ended up in Stuttgart, Germany in 1945 when the war was over. I was sent back to the States. I got discharged for about 15 months, and then I figured, well, I had served all of that time and done all them that wartime trips, and in Europe, I might as well sign up and go stay in the Army for 21 years and get a pension out of it the rest of my life. So that's what I done after 17 months being out of service. Then they sent me to Korea. They were still fighting over there. And I was there for a while. And then I come home, and I went to Japan, and I come back to the States. They wanted to send me back second time to Korea. And so one morning I had to report to the first sergeant. He thought he had somebody that would go. And I said, no, I disagreed with him. I said, no, Sergeant, this time I'm going to tell you I'm not going because I got 21 years in, and I'd seen enough of it. And so I'll be up here tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, to sign my retirement papers. I'm getting out of service. He says, you don't really mean that, do you? Well, I said, if I didn't mean it, I wouldn't have said it. I said, I absolutely mean it. I'll see you in the morning, 8 o'clock. So that's what I've done.
My comment is, I wanted two things, bathroom tissue and tomorrow. I was in the West Central Front, and things were pretty rough in winter, and the environment wasn't the greatest, but I made it. Like I said, my two wishes.